So art over time is always connected to the past and the present, so it's really important to understand its roots. Before we dive into contemporary art, we are going to make our way through history, starting at the beginning with Paleolithic and Neolithic art. So throughout this course, we are going to see many female nudes, and this one gets the most attention from historians. It is the first female nude in art ever depicted that we know of, or that we've discovered so far. Now, we don't know much of her origin, but in the 1960s, her original name was actually the Venus of Willendorf. Now, historians decided or concluded that she had to be a statue for fertility or a statue to receive a fertility blessing from a goddess. Now, they came about this theory because of the figure's anatomy, which emphasizes the chest and abdominal area. The chest is swollen to irregular proportions, and slivers carved out across the top of them represents her arms. The arms being so small takes away from their attention and instead brings the viewer's eyes back to her chest and her abdomen. Now her chest or her abdomen is also swollen and enlarged, while being supported by impractically small feet. And the choice areas of emphasis are very much so relatable to where pregnant women body may also sort of enlarge or expand. Obviously not to such an extreme, but nonetheless it does show a relationship to childbearing women. What also supports this theory is her size. She is travel sized, and in fact her limestone is not native to Austria, where she was found. So she has traveled, which means she holds some type of importance or significance. And with a well-nourished body, it could be to gift the carrier with a well-nourished body and child. And this is a great example of not only portraying the human body, but also having a relationship with the human body. Now, this painting was actually so hard to find that it was concluded that it had to be a sort of shelter or sanctuary of some sort. When found, the theory was that she was originally an agricultural goddess. Now, the original finder, he believed this is where Egypt got their goddess Isis, or the goddess of agriculture. But the theory was thrown away mostly due to the fact that his men added to the cave painting. The drawings added were sort of to support his theory, and once that came out, the theory was thrown out of the sort of onto the back burner. She herself is real, and we know that she is female. She has horns protruding from her head, and a wheat field above her sort of speckles down onto her body. That's where those dots come from. And what's interesting about her anatomy is, one, that it's very loose in structure, and two, that she is frozen in a dance pose. But other cave drawings of the time often showed not just a horse, but a horse moving throughout the day. And she is not in that sort of, there's no morning, afternoon, night kind of deal. There's no watching her for a week and drawing it out. There is solely her and her body existing. So as we move into the Neolithic period, we see the different roles art sort of will take on and its functions. In particular, we start to see religious practices and rituals that occur. Now this comes about probably because people started settling down and nomads are sort of puttering out. So we have the start of this home base, and what do we find under and in these homes but a plaster-coated skulls, and the skulls were removed from the deceased. They were coated in plaster ceramic shell and painted like a portraiture or a way of preservation, and sort of they were placed, there were shells placed in the eye holes. Now, it was originally sort of balanced to be, or believed to be, a way of having the male ancestry sort of preserved or honored. But recently they found or discovered that female and children's skulls were also plastered and painted over. So a new theory is that they are a part of sort of this mourning process. So these two figures are very interesting because they were actually found at a gravesite. Now, we don't know if they are there as sort of guardians for those who passed or if they represent the lost ones. we do know is that one is female and one is male in this situation. They're actually called woman and man. And we know this by the way the bodies are sculpted. The female has larger hips and a narrow abdomen that connects to her chest area, while the man is more linear in design and narrower. An interesting aspect is that we sort of may never understand is that the artists chose to have them looking up, and we don't know why or what they are looking at, and we may never know this. Now this figure comes from central Mexico, and it's very interesting because of the parts of the body that it gets focused on. These statues actually emphasize the hair. So when we often think of the body, we sort of exclude the hair. There's a lot of parts of the body that we sort of exclude, like the voice, but it's all part of the body. And in this case, the arms and legs are almost non-existent, and all the detail is put into the hair and the designing of the hair. This one also has two faces, which is actually uncommon. Most of them only had one face. And for these statues, we don't know why they have two faces, and unfortunately during this time, and in this region, we still don't have a written language to go off of. It is mostly female statues that we're seeing, and again, most of them only have one face, but this one in particular has two faces. There's a lot of symbolism that it could represent, but we don't know exactly for sure which one it does. But again, I want to emphasize that the emphasis is on the hair. The hair detailed, they all have intricate different patterning, and it sort of is like a glimpse into that culture or society of the time. And obviously the hair held a certain importance, and the style held a certain importance and sort of significance and meaning and ranking, almost as if to say that the hair was what they were looking at when thinking about beauty.